powerful he can stare into the eclipse and not burn his retinas, just like Chuck Norris. Trey Harden, ABC News political analyst, joins us. Good morning, Trey.
Good morning, McGraw.
All right, so read the tea leaves for us here. What does this mean by Bannon leaving, and is this how worried are you? Well, let's first start there. Read the tea leaves for us. What does this mean?
Well, I mean, the reason he's gone is because of General Kelly. I mean, General Kelly, who President Trump certainly respects and appreciates being in this new chief of staff role, said, I'm not going to, he's got to go, just like Scaramucci had to go, a couple others. So President Trump was in a situation where he either agrees with that or he doesn't agree with that, and then General Kelly goes, and then Donald Trump's White House is even in the worst turmoil it's ever been in. So that's how it went down. I think there's no question that President Trump was also thinking, oh, well, Steve Bannon can be my buddy outside the White House and actually help me with the base because he's going back to Breitbart. But let's put it this way. Today's news and last night's speech, man, it's our timing on discussing this right now, McGraw, is perfect because everyone wants to know, well, what will the world look like with Steve Bannon on the outside and President Trump on the inside? Well, President Trump gave a speech last night that has caused Breitbart to basically be pounding the Pepto-Bismol this morning, and the headline on their newspaper, certainly that Bannon approved, was that President Trump is a big flip-flopper and caved to the military establishment.
Yeah, so Bannon is America's first. Trump was America's first. It was rumored that Bannon didn't want to put more troops in Afghanistan, which, quite frankly, isn't a really conservative. That's an interesting point of view. A lot of liberals and Democrats agree with that, and yet Donald Trump listens to his generals and does the exact opposite.
Yeah, it's what's going to be fascinating today to watch, and not that people aren't maybe already following Donald Trump on Twitter because it's just it's so interesting every day, but what's going to be fascinating is to see how Trump now reacts to how his base, i.e. Breitbart Bannon, reacted to his speech last night. We have not seen anything on Twitter yet since this morning from him regarding any reaction to the Breitbart headline or to the general displeasure that his base has with his speech last night. Let's face it, I mean, the Afghanistan situation is a difficult situation, and in President Trump's defense and his speech last night, it was probably the right speech to give, and I certainly give him credit for listening to his military advisors who, let's say, many people, Republicans and Democrats alike, think it's the best team that's been put together in years. This is the longest war we've ever been in, but in the it's not like the Pentagon and the military want to necessarily be there, but they realize we have to, because if we don't, then it's just going to turn into an even worse place than it was before, and that Pakistan is going to basically be unchecked going forward. So while he said all the right things and said what he needed to say, it's just a fascinating political dynamic that his big advisor that was so controversial has now already turned on him this morning in the news.
But his base doesn't like Donald Trump because they didn't want to put troops in Afghanistan. His base likes Donald Trump because he thumbs his nose in the eye of the establishment. So, in a sense, the base allows Donald Trump to do anything he wants, whenever he wants, regardless of putting troops in Afghanistan or not.
Well, it's true, but I mean, I would say that the Afghanistan, I don't think his base runs away from him completely because of his speech last night and because we're sending 4,000 new troops to Afghanistan. I do think, though, that a lot of them have some heartache today. I think if he got up today and now said, oh, sorry, now we're not going to build the wall, then maybe that's a game changer. But the Afghanistan strategy is really more part of the bigger perspective that he talked about on the campaign trail, which was the big Breitbart Bannon type view of how to view the world, kind of this isolationist pullback from the world, really having nothing to do with neoconservatism and hawkish, being hawkish or not hawkish. It was more just giving up, not caring about the world and focusing more on the United States. And so I think, I do think that a lot of people in his base have problems with his speech last night, but I think that they care more about the issues like immigration and some of these other things we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Just because Donald Trump says he's not nation building doesn't mean he's not nation building. It might be a poor way to build a nation, but adding 4,000 more troops to the 8,000 troops already there's some form of nation building is actually going on.
Well, I don't know if I would call it nation building, because I think it's more. I think the military leaders they would tell you, maybe even on the record, but certainly off the record, that this is where obviously the war on terrorism is global and it's everywhere, particularly when you see what they're doing in places like Barcelona. But this is. There needs to be, just like we're in South Korea, I think the military feels that we need to be in the Afghanistan area near Pakistan, in that part of the world, having a presence there for deterrence purposes and for oversight purposes, if you will. I view it almost really no differently than the U.S. being in South Korea.
So we're just going to be in Afghanistan forever.
I think so. It would not surprise me, for sure.
Trey Harden, ABC News political analyst. Thanks for checking in. Have a good day.
You too.
We'll check the markets with Scott Crothers. Also, Karen Travers is going to be along